by Zimbabwe, but they certainly are putting in some sort of a recovery. Important thing in these limited over games is to keep wickets in hand so that you can try and accelerate the rate a bit later on. Sure, 20 overs, 45 runs, nothing to write home about. But once you have those wickets in hand, you have a chance of accelerating that scoring rate later on in the innings. Not the best of pitches on which to bat. Lara, don't think he'll be totally happy having taken that early wicket, but he still has things pretty much under control.
Wide is called. The one criticism that Lara could have on his bowlers is that they haven't bowled straight enough. That's a look at the run out. The run out appeal, I should say. Made his ground, one would say, comfortably. He'd be comfortable that he's still out there. And Brian Lara would have liked his bowlers to bowl a bit straighter, make the Zimbabweans play a lot more than they have.
And perhaps even a bit fuller for me. Bowling a bit short on this pitch, which has been a bit slow.
What they have done is that Fidel Edwards particularly, he's run up and he's bowled back of a length and short, tried some bounces here and there, and then gone for the Yorker. He'd probably be more successful just getting the ball on just back of a drive length. There's the last delivery, looking for the Yorker, not quite in that hole. If he goes back of a length, bringing the batsman forward and straight, with the way the pitch is behaving, odds on you're going to get one that's going to pop and go through the slip or go up in the air.
Yes.
That's unusual. Don't see that man misfielding that often.
A couple of very good fielders in the West Indies side, and this man is one of them. He's very quick across the ground, gets there in good time, and he's just taken his eye off the ball because he's looking for the run out. Stuffen not very quick. And Dorian Smith that time not able to effect the run out, the ball not in his hand. So a comfortable single in the end.
He's certainly not afraid to play his drives.
He's looking down and thinking to himself, I deserve 4 for that. Didn't quite place it. Closes the face on those drives quite a bit. He's probably looking to get that to the left of Brian Lara at mid-off. Because of that bottom hand, the ball going straighter than he'd like. He's on 18. Been gutsy. But at some point, one of these two batsmen is going to have to take it on.
I think that will go all the way. It was a slow delivery from Fidel Edwards, but not well directed. It's 51 for 1. Six overs for 15 runs for Fidel Edwards. Nothing wrong with those figures. I'm sure he would love to have something in the 4th column, though, on the W wickets. Down to 1 slip now. Bradshaw bowling from the Vivian Richards pavilion end. Chris Gale, the man in the slip.
That's a bit of length, and what Brian Lara and Bradshaw have done is reinforce that point region that Duffin likes so much. There's a man at backward point, and then there's a man on point. Very strong in that area. Could argue that Bradshaw should not be bowling that short and shouldn't be allowing Duffin the opportunity to play in that region. Just as Chibaba going along quite nicely, and it sort of pleased him no end, particularly with what happened towards the beginning of the over. This is the last ball of Fidel Edwards' over. Slower delivery, just tucked away nicely down to fine leg, and fine enough to get to the boundary and get him 4 runs. Called wide down the leg side.
I think he was lucky actually to get away with the first delivery that was outside off stump. Billy Bowden gave him a bit of leeway on that occasion, but of course anything down the leg side will be called.
Just watching this West Indian performance and watching the bowlers go along in the fields that have been set with all that's happening, and taking into consideration who they're playing against, the Zimbabweans who are struggling, and as far as the youth of the side and the inexperience of the side, you don't get the feeling that they're trying to blast the Zimbabwean outfit out. Why would that be?
I agree with you. It doesn't seem as if they are desperately trying to get 10 wickets. Tommy, I don't really want to put this forward as the reason, but I understand the West Indies captain at the press conference yesterday said that he was out there pretty much building bridges with the Zimbabwe team. They're going to be putting their arms around them and looking after them, and not too sure why that should be.
What do you mean, out on the field or off the field after the game?
Well, I would have been hoping it would have been off the field after the game and show Zimbabweans a good time in the Caribbean and show them the nice areas of the Caribbean beaches. A couple of night spots, not too many. So, yeah, do have gaps in the tour, but I wasn't expecting it to be happening out on the field. Well, he ain't taking it easy on the opposition. That's 1 bounce for 56 for 1.
Bradshaw, pretty accurate. 5 overs now for 19. Won't be happy with the 6. Would not have expected it at all. 50 partnership as well. Oh, with the 4, I should have said it. Partnership. 2 fellas that have gone out there to build things for Zimbabwe.
That's a pretty good partnership between Chibaba and Duffin. We're struggling at the beginning. Pitch, well, it certainly hasn't improved a lot. It's a bit better than when they first started to bat. But under those conditions, they certainly have applied themselves. 123 balls, a bit slow, yes, but they are still there. That's the important factor. Here we go with those short balls again. Not quite necessary.
Exactly what I was talking about, and as far as his lengths are concerned, Fidel Edwards, it's been pretty much short, and then really fall, and nothing in between that. Here's a look at the last ball of Bradshaw's over. Terence Duffin deciding that he's going to take it to him, going over mid-on. Bounces and then 4.
That is the sort of length that you'd expect the bowlers, all the bowlers, to be bowling continuously or more regularly than the short ball or the Yorker. We know that the pitch is a bit awkward. The brand new ball was doing a bit earlier on. There were stips there looking for the catch. Just no opportunities, not the length that the bowlers were bowling. Certainly don't want to be easing up on Zimbabwe. You want to be crushing them and crushing them quickly. That's a good shot. That's a retrieval mission. No chance of cutting that off.
It's fantastically played here by Chibaba. He's had a few short ones that he's had to duck under and has decided, it looks from the outset, that he's not going to try and pull Fidel Edwards, but when it's up in the slot, not shy to play the drive, and he's played this really well. Straight back past the bowler. No fielders there. Good quick outfield. I'm going to get 4 for it.
Chibaba seems for me as if he's looking to come forward almost every delivery. Perhaps that's the reason why Fidel Edwards has bowled a few short balls. But a lot of the batsmen, especially inexperienced batsmen, that do push that front leg forward, and then you bounce them and get themselves into trouble. Not Chibaba.
Yeah, been pretty good at getting under it. I just feel you need to be getting them to play more and more shots, get the ball hitting the bat a lot and going towards the stumps. There's been so little to play for Chibaba as far as making sure that his defense is all right. He's had to leave alone, which he's done really well. You need to test him in another fashion. Test him playing some shots, get fielders in the right area, get catching fielders with the ball bouncing up suddenly at regular intervals outside because of the pitch. You'd expect that he would make a mistake somewhere along the line. Only in his second one-day international.
There goes that drive again. Bit of a fumble from Sawan, allows a single. 23 overs bowled, it's 61 for 1. We just saw fumbling that last delivery of the previous over. He has been the vice captain of the West Indies team a couple of occasions, meaning different tours, of course, not just individual games. They have not named a vice captain on this occasion. Was vice captain to Lara at one point, vice captain to Shivnarayan Chandrapal at another point. This is the fumble.
It's the drive once again. Chibaba happy to have the ball pitched up to him. Hits it onto the onside, tends to close the face. Sawan going across, having to put the dive in, but unable to collect cleanly, and so a single off that last delivery and leaving Chibaba on strike. Bit of a field change mid-off. On the fence now.
Maybe an interesting point here, Pommy. We're talking about Sawan and him being appointed vice captain on a couple of occasions. No vice captain appointed in this West Indies squad. Lara the captain. The official word is, if Lara has to leave the field, he'll decide who takes over. What would be interesting is if he misses a game, does he decide who captains the team?
Certainly is interesting. The other side of it, maybe he will decide not to miss any games and not to go off the field.
Let's hope so.
As his record has West Indian captain, 86 one-day internationals, won 37 and lost 42. Difficult times for West Indian cricket. Been long as well. Two sides coming together here who have had struggles, to put it mildly. Question for you, Mikey. As a former West Indian cricketer yourself, with this period that's gone and been so difficult for West Indies cricket, what's the word out there and what's the feeling, I'd say, from you and other West Indian former players?
No run there. Malcolm Morton, the fielder. Well, I can tell you, for me, a lot of the former West Indian cricketers, or especially the fellas I played with, because you know there are lots of guys before us, before our time, that I wouldn't be in constant contact with. But the guys that I'm in contact with on a regular basis, they are very disappointed, of course. I think we all accept that perhaps this team is not the most talented team that you could find. When I say could find, I don't mean that there are others in the Caribbean at the moment better than the ones playing. But generally the talent in this team is not at of the high standard that you would like, and especially in the bowling department. But, and this is a big but, that a lot of the guys say, that they are convinced, totally convinced, that they can do a lot better than they are doing. There's some underlying factor there that's preventing them from doing as well as they can.
Care to say what you think that is?
Well, there are so many different factors. Well, administration is one. You never have a good company that's badly run. Should just be a single. It was at fine leg. 24 overs, 6-2 for 1.
Has 3 overs to go now. Fidel Edwards, 7 overs, none for 20. He's going to be taken out of the attack. Shaw, 6 overs, none for 20. Bowlers that have been used have been economical. Of course, you'd expect that with the score at 62 for 1.
Just 8 extras in this innings so far. That's something that the West Indies need to keep their eye on as well. The amount of runs that they give the opposition without them having to work for those runs. 8 isn't bad at the moment off 24 overs. Dwayne Smith now coming into the attack.
It's a good start, and what he will do, because he's a little medium pacer, he's not going to bowl wide at the stumps. He's not going to bowl short either, because he cannot afford to. He doesn't have the pace to. He'll bowl up to the stumps, pitch it up, ask the batsman to play some shots off him, and that's what will happen. You'd expect that he would do a bit here.
Found the gap. It's a long chase out there for Shivnarayan Chandrapal. Not as quick as he was when he was 22, but still quick enough.
Pitched up this time, maybe a bit fuller than he'd like as he plays that shot. Almost looking to lift it, but so much bottom hand in the shot. He's always looking to go onto the onside. The ball ends up there, even when he doesn't intend it to go there sometimes. Dwayne Smith, only 23 years old. Little medium pacer. One thing that's going to be important with him trying to pitch the ball up is his accuracy. He's going to have to make sure that he hits a good length. Not too full, not too short, not too much margin for error when you don't bowl too quick. Duffin, Zimbabwean captain. Zimbabwe played against Kenya in a series of 5 one-day internationals. 2-2 that ended up with one being rained off, I think. At a time when this side had just come together, all the heavy players disappeared. Well documented the problems between the players who are not currently active for Zimbabwe and the administration.
I think between these two teams, the West Indies and Zimbabwe, we could put a script together and send it over to Hollywood could make some money off that, with all the problems these teams have had. It's 6-5 for one. Justice Chibaba on 31 off just 6 deliveries. Strike rate of just over 50. Bradshaw to continue.
That Hollywood movie you'd want to make. What would you want to call it?
No, that's an interesting one. It would take a bit of time for me, as a non-Hollywood person, to really find a title for a movie like that. But I certainly could supply a lot of material for it. Good adjustment of length there from Ian Bradshaw. So Chibaba coming down the wicket at him.
He'll be venturing to play some shots now. Justice Chibaba. The time really has come. 25 overs have gone halfway through their innings. Will need to put up a challenging total for the West Indies. And if they continue to play the way they have, that won't happen. Going at a rate of 2.5 to the over.
Brian Lauer, the captain there at short extra cover.
Just haven't quite been able to put away the opportunities they've got, Zimbabwe. Finding the fielders, maybe not striking the ball well enough to get it across the boundary. Time off the bottom of the bat, and Lara across comfortably to just keep it to 1.
That's well run. Bravo, backward point. He's another quick man over the ground, another excellent fielder for the West Indies.
It's interesting watching him bowling at around 122, and having watched him bowl before, yes, he's back from injury. He's normally up around 130. 135 sometimes.
Will take him a little time to get back up to those sort of speeds, those numbers, because although more than likely he's 100% over the physical injury, as a former fast bowler yourself, Tommy, you know that the mental scars can linger a bit longer than the physical scars. Just may be afraid to really fully extend himself in case there's a recurrence. Single off the last ball of the over. 68 for 1.
Chat between the two batsmen. Probably will be something along the lines of, maybe we can take Smith on. A bit slower, we'll pitch it up, and if you decide to go, make sure you go as hard as you can.
Just past halfway, 26 overs bowled in the innings. Pitch getting slightly easier, not a great deal, but slightly. No run there either. Perhaps the chat they had in between overs, Duffin and Chibaba, was about trying to pick up these singles, because it's not easy getting boundaries. The shot making isn't easy on these slow pitches that have awkward bounce and awkward pace.
No!
A slugger like yourself or me, for me, wouldn't have any problems. You just swing the bat. But proper batsmen like to time the ball.
I had trouble swinging the bat.
Well, that's well run. They definitely had a bit of a talk about these singles.
Yeah, what becomes important alongside the running between the wickets is the calling to ensure that your partner has a very good idea of what's happening. This was good, this call, straight away. His partner responded as well. Didn't hesitate. No confusion in what was happening. And quite comfortable. Oh, well, I was going to say comfortable in making his ground. Lazy that time. Chibaba not grounding his bat, just deciding to run into his ground, and my goodness, that would have been out. What a way it would have been to get out, just giving your wicket away.
I think Kevin Curran, the coach, would have given him his ticket back to Zimbabwe immediately he got to the dressing room. That is just not cricket. Have a look at this again. This is from the run-out camera. Get your bat in. Just running across the crease. There he is. Ed's done gone. The captain goes after a long vigil at the crease.
He'd been having a go outside that off stump unsuccessfully for a long period of time. First it was Dwayne Bravo getting it to go across him, and Duffin couldn't lay bat on it. Then another Dwayne Smith, brought into the attack and continuing to go outside the off stump, getting the ball to go away from the left-hander. Finally he succumbs. There it is, off the back foot, just trying to stand tall and hit through the offside. A nice little edge to Ramden, who makes no mistake this time. Duffin gone for 26. Zimbabwe 2 down for 69.
So 2 wickets down for Zimbabwe. New batsman Brendan Taylor coming in at number 4. Won't be on strike immediately. The wicket going down the last ball of the previous over. So he'll have a bit of time at the non-striker's end to get a closer view of how this pitch is playing. Bradshaw to continue. Didn't quite get hold of that. Chibaba just a single. Brings Taylor on strike.
Brendan Taylor on strike because his captain Terence Duffin is out in that fashion. Looking to force off that back foot. The ball going across him on a lovely length. It's the length they should have been bowling, all the bowlers, to try and get Duffin to play, and Chibaba, the breakthrough they wanted, the West Indies. Happiness is Dwayne Smith gets a wicket.
What was interesting was just watching that last replay we saw with Dwayne Smith. When the camera was focused on Dwayne Smith, he knew the man had hedged the ball. The catch had been taken. He knows it's all over. He's about to go down to celebrate, and then he remembers, hey, ICC say I've got to turn around and look at the umpire.
An amazing rule.
I find it utterly ridiculous. When the batsman is walking away and heading to the pavilion, why do you need to turn around and look at the umpire after that? If you're making an appeal, yes, and the batsman is there, you turn around and ask the umpire, how is that? What's happening? But the guy's halfway to the dressing room, you're going to turn around and ask the umpire something? He's out, he's gone.
Well, you are going to turn around, because if you don't, your match fee gone.
Thankfully, I'm long time retired. I'll be playing for nothing.
For the love of the game.
Yeah, I'll be playing today with all this money around. I'd still be getting nothing. Very steady, Ian Bradshaw. Very, very steady. Those are the other officials not in the middle today. Steve Buckner, the third umpire, the television replay umpire, and Chris Broad, the match referee. Chris will be taking a lot of my money.
Happily.
Clancy Mack in the background there, in between the two gentlemen. End of another Bradshaw over. It's 70 for 2. Zimbabwe, both opening batsmen back in the pavilion. One very, very early in the piece. Rinke very early back in the pavilion. That's a good shot. That will go all the way. They need to get a move on, Zimbabwe. But here now in the commentary box are Jeffrey Dujon and Jeremy Coney.
Thank you, Michael. 74 for 2. We're in the 29th over. Good stroke from the back foot. Important now with the loss of this recent wicket of the captain, Duffin.
No!
That the Zimbabwe side establish a new partnership. Let's have a look at the score. You can see there a wicket fell early. Second over. There were some maidens. It was very difficult going for the first 11 or 12 overs here. But then it started to build at about over 20. Partnership between Duffin and Chibaba, until Duffin fell in about the 27th over.
No!
So they have to re-establish themselves. That was a second wicket record partnership for Zimbabwe against the West Indies and ODIs. So the blue lines is the power plays from 5 overs from 10 to 15 and then from 15 to 20. So that's all been used up now. Nice stroke again. Nice flowing off drive. Of course, the problem for that, while the West Indies are still in control, you can see from that graph why they're in control. There are not many big overs there, perhaps 7 runs off the 21st over. But apart from that, it's all been rather miserly pickings and very parsimonious bowling, but they've tended to bowl for containment rather than taking wickets.
They certainly have. I don't think they bowled straight enough. Early on, when the pitch was a little bit dodgy, I thought they could have put more pressure on the batsmen, bowled straighter, bowled as if they wanted to get them out. They've been pretty happy to just bowl too many wide balls, too many balls that can be left, and just contain.
Or cut off the front foot. Not a stroke you see a lot of. It's a successful one. End of the over, 79 for 2. Best over of the innings. A chat between the two batsmen. New man Taylor. He's off the mark now. A good stroke. Morton, who's been employed pretty much in the slips area where he's pretty efficient. Lara having a chat to his bowler. So good stroke to get Taylor underway, coming off the front foot and cutting it. Not a stroke you see very often, down on one knee as well. Quite flourish.
Extremely well timed. Got on top of it, hit it down into the ground, very good balance, and got the full benefit from it. Here's Jerome Taylor.
Taylor very full, tending to angle in at the feet, but he's going to be picked off here for another boundary.
Taylor trying to get that ball up into the block hole, straight a bit and a bit too full on the legs. And Chibaba clipping that off his legs nicely into the vacant gap behind square. Nicely played shot. Roll the wrists over on it. It's 4 all the way.
5th 4 for Chibaba. All stand for Justice Tababa. All rise. I think the danger with bowling too wide, Jeff, is that in doing so, in a strange way, it could possibly give the Zimbabwe side some confidence as they batted out in what were quite difficult circumstances, and they kind of mentally say to themselves, hey, these guys aren't superheroes after all. We can compete here.
Yes, I'm sure we saw them, you know, grow in confidence and really start to believe that they could stick around here.
No!
And they've done so successfully. Chibaba on 44, and his innings has grown as he's gone on. Started very slowly, but then of late started to play a few shots, some very good shots.
Edged wide, down to one of the shorter boundaries here at St John's. Just time for a single. It's either 4 or 1 down to that area of the ground.
That's a very big crowd here at the Antigua Recreation Ground. It's probably the most silence I've heard at the Antigua Recreation Ground in all the years I've been coming here. Very subdued today. And probably quite upset that the West Indies haven't gotten more wickets than they have.
The other interesting thing, I suppose, that tomorrow, of course, we play a second match on this same pitch, on a damaged pitch. Now, the ground staff presumably will lightly, underlined, lightly water this pitch and then roll it again to try and remove any indentations from the surface, because it will have been, it's slightly pock-marked here today. 30 overs gone, it's 84 for 2.
As you asked, Jeremy, this pitch would have indentations from this morning because it was a bit soft to start with. It'll have to be faced out again for tomorrow, and hopefully there won't be as much moisture as there was this morning. 84 for 2. Another single.
Now 85 for 2, as you say, Jeff. If you can see there, here are the projections at 4 runs and over there, 164. If it continues the same way as it is, 141, that won't challenge anybody, I don't think. 164 and then 5 and over from here, 204. Now we should say this, we've had 6 one-day internationals played here at the Antigua Recreation Ground. The highest score has been just over 300 by the West Indies when Desmond Haynes got, I think, his first one-day international century on debut. And the smallest total has been 166 over those 6 games. The average, if you look at the 6 matches, add them up and divide by 6, is 227. Now, at 85, if Zimbabwe somehow can get to about 180, so they're going to have to score reasonably well to do that. They do have wickets in hand. We'll just see if that can at least become a competitive total. One suspects as this pitch dries out, it won't be.
I think this in the second innings of this game, the wicket is going to be much better for batting from early up. It's important now, with just about 20 overs to go, that Zimbabwe press on a little bit. They need to get more aggressive. They have wickets in hand.
Yes.
And they can get aggressive in 2 ways. Now that's one of the ways. I think if there's one thing Chababa could learn, I mean, he's a young man who's shown that he can resist. He's also played some nice drives down the ground on the offside and through the leg side when the bottom hand comes into play. But it's being able to gap the ball a little bit more rather than dead batting it. There was width and it was inviting, but it's the end of the over, 87 for 2. Oh, it's wide, I beg your pardon. We'll have one more, 88 for 2.
As more experienced teams would be able to accelerate a lot easier from this point. But we have to remember that this Zimbabwe team doesn't have a lot of experience, and they're less likely to take the kind of chances that more experienced teams would take.
This time it is over. 88 for 2.
Taylor, probably the most experienced of the Zimbabwe batsmen and reputed to be the best batter in the team. The Dominican flag there being displayed in the bleachers. That's the native land of umpire Billy Doctrove, who's at square leg. There he is, looking really cool in his shades. A nice Panama hat. Very animated conversation there coming from Coach Kevin Curran.
Yeah.
One more to Chibaba, takes him on to 48. And he's batted pretty well, Jeremy, hasn't he?
Oh, I think he's batted really well. A young man who came out under difficult circumstances in the second over. Just got away with one that nearly went through his defences and rolled back onto the stumps, didn't remove the bail. It's from that moment of uncertainty he's just blossomed. He's played some nice drives. And as I say, if he could just gap the ball a little bit more and propel it into a gap and pick his singles up, he would keep the score ticking over. It's what you need from a number 3, I think.
Well, that's a function of experience again, isn't it? And you'd expect that he would learn and get better at this as time goes on. But having been there for so long now, his confidence is his self-belief. This is where the experience part for young players comes in, to be able to spend time at the wicket and experience conditions at this level.
Yeah, the other thing about singles, of course, is that it often removes that temptation to play a big shot later in the over. So you see the pressure build on a player throughout an over. And if he can't get them away, here's another single.
And that's very well run. Just to the right of slip. And a good call and good running from Chibaba. Saw it early, took off. And answered very quickly by Brendan Taylor. That's good running.
Cushioned it nicely. Helped a little bit by taking the glove at the same time. Just absorbed the impact as well. Oh, he could be run out. No. Opportunity for Taylor there to run Chibaba out on 48, not taken.
Another comedy of errors. Jerome Taylor complaining that he may have been interfered with. Chibaba takes off, turns, and just a hint of an arm sticking out there as he probably tried to use Taylor for a break.
Well, you can, of course, be out obstructing the field, but I don't think really, I got the feeling that it was timed. It was timed as he started to turn. To keep his balance, he had to throw the hand out. I don't think there was malice in that.
He obviously lost his balance trying to turn. But the arm did go out.
And it did hit the arm that Taylor was going to use.
It did hit the throwing arm of Jerome Taylor. Can't see why he would have been upset otherwise. Here we go.
He's going pretty hard, as you can see that right foot. That right foot just skidded along the surface again. If you haven't got the big sprigs in, he's just slid there.
Watch the arm.
Arm goes out onto the hand that's going to actually collect the ball from Taylor in his follow-through. Well, if it was deliberate, he's a very mature 19-year-old.
Or he plays rugby.
Oh, no, you hit harder than that. So Chibaba's still there. He's on 48. Taylor on strike here now. They need to get some runs here, some singles, maybe a big shot.
Yeah.
There's the single thereafter.
And there you can see the experience of Taylor. He's looking to play the ball away into the gaps. Totally different approach. And obviously he's played more cricket than most of the other players. Here we go again. Just seem to be using Taylor to slow down.
West Indies obviously very much still in control of this innings. Got to try and get a bat on those, don't you? Just to work it away into the leg side. It's one area, of course, a batsman likes to get underway in his innings, to use that leg side, get across the stumps, slightly manipulate the line of the bowler to make him bowl a little bit wider, perhaps. You can see the slip in position. No Gale. No Chris Gale yet at the bowling crease.
I think the seamers have been able to contain, and the West Indies seem happy to just, you know, keep the scoring rate down. That's the end of the over. It's 91 for 2.
Panoramic view here from the church. You can see there to Falmouth Harbour, the oldest church on the island, right there. And of course down to the harbour in the Antigua Yacht Club. Of course it's sailing week here in Antigua, very popular sailing week. Yachties coming here from all around the world. And some serious money in that. That's Jeffrey Dujon's, just his private transport waiting for him to head back home. And I don't know whether they're related to you or not, Jeffrey.
Well, that's my crew, actually.
Ah. They're not the Grinders, are they? And there's perhaps a crewman who's just having a bit of a break from festivities.
Or advertising something. There, the flag of Antigua.
What does all that mean? Is that the rising sun? Was that Jamaica that just went past there, the flag of Jamaica? See, the West Indies, for me here, they really wanted to have an emphatic beginning to this match. I mean, they needed to be like Jamaican sprinters out of the blocks, you know, and leave their Zimbabwe opponents in the dust. But it hasn't quite been that way for the home side. They have had some several advantages. They've had home conditions, of course, right throughout this tour. They have had a damp pitch to bowl on today. They've had opponents who, the lion's share of their party, are not long out of shorts. And at college, 6 players in the Zimbabwe side, 21 or younger. And here is Chris Gayle. A little bit surprised that Lara didn't try him earlier while the pitch was damp. You can often get a spinner to get the ball, because it is damp, to turn damp. It can grip a little bit more. There's a lot of bounce there on that first delivery for him.
I think the initial plan was to put the batters under pressure, but the line was off.
Yeah.
Chris Gayle, very famous at breaking partnerships. He's got a very good record at that. When things get quiet, you bring him on, and he's not doing a whole lot with it, but he just tends to get a wicket.
I think he's got something over 105, 106 one-day wickets. It's actually about 40 more one-day wickets than the entire Zimbabwe side. As I was saying, they're a young team. West Indies, of course, they have plenty more experience, about 5 to 6 times more experience than their Zimbabwe side. Their opponents here, they've got 35 more one-day centuries. They've got about 140 more one-day 50s. Sort of breathtaking, really, the difference between the sides. And turn for Gayle. He's going to get another single, Taylor. So the end of 34, it's 94 for 2.
Brian Lara opting late to bring Chris Gayle into the attack. One would have expected to see him a little bit earlier, add a little bit of variety to the early attack, since no wickets were falling. But he's come on and he's gotten a bit of turn, and if Chris Gayle is turning the ball, then it has to have something to do with the pitch.
Well, if Gayle is getting some turn, Utsaya is an off-spin bowler, Higgins is a leg spin bowler.
Yeah.
In fact, some of the Zimbabwe side may well rely in these conditions on their spinners more than the medium pacers. I looked at the pitch when we looked at it today. I just felt that it might suit the Zimbabwe side if they managed to win the toss, because sometimes the slower bowlers, the ball is on the surface of the pitch just a little longer, and it can just hold and get lift from it. That's another reason I was surprised, no single there, that Lara didn't use perhaps more of his control bowlers like Smith, like Bravo a little earlier. I mean, while Fidel Edwards is quicker, he's not really a control bowler, and he's not really an into the wicket bowler. He's a slider, because he bowls slightly round arm. And I just wondered about some of the selections of bowlers.
No.
This appears to me to be very much a safety first approach. Just not taking any chances, just happy to keep the run rate nice and low, not really attacking. One would have expected the West Indies to come in and look to just knock over this batting team.
Jababa can't get that through. On 49, the cusp of his first one-day 50. There we are, the strike rate just a little low. I mean, he's scoring a run off every 2 balls there. Tucking it away, it's that leg side, he can't get it into that area again.
I reckon his inexperience is going to make him bat for this 50 runs. The run rate probably is not too much of a consideration now. This would be an early landmark for him in his career, and he's going to stick around until he gets it.
Can't get it this over. So it keeps him quiet. 2.7 runs per over. It's 95 for 2. So Zimbabwe on 49, Taylor on 10, Chris Gale at the bowling crease again. Gale into his second over, got a bit of turn and bounce in his first over. Because he's getting turn, he's having to go wider outside the off stump. Good stroke. Much longer out there. And also slightly, if anything, uphill, so fielders have to really push themselves. They can be embarrassed if the ball stops close to the boundary. You see the width. Taylor went after it. Take us through the next half an hour in commentary. It's Pommy Mbangwa and Michael Holt.
Thank you, Jeremy. Third umpire wants to have a look at this bit of fielding. He thinks that perhaps the fielder touched the rope while touching the ball. Don't think so, but certainly need to make sure. Certainly a lot of dust down there with Fidel Edwards. Good bit of fielding though. Was clear of the boundary. We scale again. Oh, outside edge. And that's a half century for Chibaba. Very good start by the young man.
Yeah, well done. Brings up the 100 as well. 50 off 93 balls. 5 fours. It's been a long vigil. 144 minutes out at the crease on a pitch that's been difficult. So important for them to get a start. Important for him to kick on now. Bit of indecision that time, but safe in the end. Comfortably across for another single.
Certainly should be proud of his achievements, Chibaba. Certainly wasn't a comfortable position to find yourself in at the crease with the team losing that very early wicket. Need to get a move on though, Pommy. 102 runs off almost 36 overs.
They certainly do. Venture into saying that they would be looking to. Need to put away opportunities like that. Long hop has hit it to the man. Deep backward square for 1. 103 for 2. Second 50 off 86 deliveries, and will have to get quicker still, and they'll need to get at least a couple more 50s. Be a tall order. 36 overs having gone already.
There are certainly a few more gaps on the onside than the offside, so certainly can't blame Chibaba to try to play the ball through the onside, but he has to pick the right delivery. That wasn't short enough. Just 3 fielders on the onside for Dwayne Smith.
He's been very circumspect in the way that he's played from the start of his innings. Was fortunate for the bail not to be dislodged when he got a Yorker. much crimped under the bat and rolled along to the stump.
Straight down the ground. There's a long off in place. Fidel Edwards won't get there.
Expect to see him play a few more shots. Justice Chibaba. He was nervous for quite a bit in the 40s. Couldn't quite get to maneuver the ball into gaps to get to 50. Once he's got there, he'll want to play more shots like this and play them in the gaps to get some boundaries for his team.
That's straight to Edwards now. It's just a matter of whether he'll take it or not. He does.
Well, I said he'd like to play more shots. You don't want to be hitting it straight down, long off stroke. The ball before went over the bowler, was more in the gap, and so was not a catch for anyone. This time around, it's outside off stump. You can see he's trying to heave it over the boundary, but he's taking the fielder on, doesn't get much of it. A comfortable catch for Fidel Edwards. No trouble. 55 off 99, he's played well. Zimbabwe 105 for 3.
So 3 wickets down. Taylor is on strike because a batsman crossed while the ball was in the air, but Shigumbu is a new batsman. He's at the rather non-strikers end at the moment. Elton Chigumbura. That should be a wide. That should be 2 wides. Giving the impression that that one got away from him. Dwayne Smith went a long way outside off stump.
25th match, and look at that strike rate, 92.2. Loves to absolutely smash deliveries over the boundary. 106 for 3.
Chris Gayle will continue, 2 overs, 411 runs. He is a bit expensive, Chris Gayle. That's again not usual for him when he's bowling. When he's batting, anything is possible, but he's usually quite economical with the ball in his hands.
Gotcha.
Last wicket to go down. Justice Chibaba, after getting to 50, decided that he was going to take it on for the Zimbabweans and then accelerate to try and get them to a decent total.
Oh!
The ball was there to hit. Maybe should not have hit it in the air. And also not have hit it in the direction of Fidel Edwards on the boundary.
This is not the biggest of grounds though, Pommy. He should have been able to clear the boundary. Just 2 runs coming from that Chris Gayle over. It's 108 for 3.
After 38, there certainly will need to be some shots played to post a competitive total. Pitch batting second will obviously be a bit easier. It's been hard going for the Zimbabweans. They have a tough time of it. The bounce being a bit up and down.
Slowly growing this crowd here at the Antigua Recreation Ground. Come out there on the extra cover boundary. Not the best of throws.
That's the wicket. He's looking to clear the boundary. Doesn't quite hit it as well as he'd like. And it goes straight to Fidel Edwards. Didn't have to move too much just to get his hands up and pouch it. Made no mistake. 2 wickets for Smith.
I think it hit pretty low down on the bat. Slow delivery as well from Dwayne Smith. You could see that ball just wobbling as it left his hand. Comfortably taken. Should cut that off. Well, they certainly know the fielders already. Not a very strong arm, Ian Bradshaw.
Very good running. He set off straight away and was running like he was coming back for 2 as soon as he touched down at the other end. He was on his way back for the second. Nelson on the board.
Well bowled, very good Yorker that. At that pace, when you're bowling Yorkers, you've got to get them perfectly right.
Certainly gets this right. It's on leg stump, no room for the batsman. It's right up there, can't get under that. High back lift. Elton Chigumbura looking to smash anything that's in his half.
Wow, that was powerfully struck. Hit straight through Ramnarek Sawan's hands at mid-wicket and still went to the boundary. It's 115 for 3 and Sawan is in trouble.
Not happy. Didn't quite get his hands up in time, actually. It was hit so hard. Just flicked the finger on the way through to the boundary. Didn't get sufficient hand on that to slow it down.
There's a slip in place now for Chris Gayle. Just goes wide of him. Will go all the way. It's all downhill towards the Factory Road end.
It's a good edge. Here's a look at the last ball of the previous over. It's absolutely smashed by Elton Chigumbura. Naresh Sawan at mid-wicket tries to get his hand up to take what he would have thought was a simple catch. But before he knew it, the ball was past him. Not going past without flicking the finger either. some pain for his troubles. Zimbabwe looking to get a wriggle on. Elton Chigumbura will be the instigator, no doubt. Has got a high strike rate, 92.2 in his one-day internationals.
Catch him.
Just a single. Don't take that man on.
Like you said, they know their fielders as well. Chigumbura ran very quickly, looked down to the backward square, and he realized it was Dwayne Smith. Quickly aborted the thought of a second. Very, very strong arm, very quick from Dwayne Smith.
That could be trouble, and it is.
It's good fielding. But Chigumbura rather over-eager, no single there on offer. Shivnarayan Chanderpaul is the man who's at square leg. The ball's tucked onto the onside by Brendan Taylor. And it's not gone too far in front of square. Chanderpaul just has to go a couple of yards to his left and get a good throw in. He does that. Chigumbura's gone for 8. 121 for 4.
Chris Gayle continues. Wide of first slip again. One to his right, no, one to his left. And it goes all the way. End of a very eventful over. It's 125 for 4.
Not much turn on that. Brendan Taylor playing inside the line. Slip. Standing a bit wide. Expecting that to go through, having to go to his left. Dwayne Bravo couldn't go far enough to his left, and the ball going through for 4.
Just 10 overs to go now in this innings for Zimbabwe. The new batsman at the crease is Gregory Stridham. Taylor and Stridham now need to put some runs on the board in very quick time. 125 for 4. It's not the type of score that should threaten this West Indies team. A runner ball from here will give them something looking a bit more respectable.
What?
Having a look at the way things have gone in the game for Zimbabwe, it's hard to imagine that they would be able to score at a runner ball from here on in. As a look at Stridham's figures, only in his 5th match. Not many runs on the board as yet. He too is one who likes to hit the ball.
Well, Bravo certainly will be showing him his full range of variation. Thinks a lot about his game, Wayne Bravo. Has pretty good control as well. Can be a bit expensive at times, but he is a wicket taker. Test match, one-day internationals, he does take wickets. very comfortable single off the mark. Just took 3 deliveries. Here's another slow delivery, brilliantly bowled.
Brendan Taylor was setting himself to play a big shot. Had to check his shot, the ball floating across to him. In the end, just shuffling forward and playing a forward defensive. Very hard to second guess what's going to happen here as far as choosing what shots to play is concerned.
Time is usually a factor in these limited over games, but the West Indies are well ahead of schedule with their over rate. Close of innings scheduled for 1 o'clock. That's 1 o'clock Eastern Caribbean time. It's about 22 minutes past 12 at the moment. That's going straight down the third man. Bradshaw is down there. He takes the catch comfortably. Another wicket goes down.
Bravo gets a wicket, mixing up his pace. Some normal pace deliveries, some slower balls. This one was just regulation pace as he would bowl normally. Taylor looking to heave it onto the onside and get a boundary, gets a leading edge and nearly carries the boundary. Goes down a third man to Bradshaw, who makes no mistake. Taylor gone for 25. Zimbabwe 126 for 5.
Number 7 batsman for Zimbabwe is Keith Dabengwa. That's left-handed, so the bowlers have to start thinking about changing their line whenever singles are taken. Right down the right-hander on strike at the moment. They are running out of overs and wickets, Zimbabwe. Well run.
Having started so slowly, there's always going to come a time when they needed to take it on, needed to play some shots. It's been difficult for them throughout this innings. The pitch has eased somewhat as far as the degree of difficulty to play, but it's still not an easy one. And what hasn't helped the Zimbabweans is that they've lost wickets rather quickly, one would say. Second wicket going down at 69, third at 105 and 121, now 126. So a new batsman at the crease trying to